The Wolverine Trilogy is probably one of the funniest trilogies to ever be released for me, because I believe the entire existence of it was just a matter of happenstance. Like, the timelines were all over the place. Something happens here and you cannot connect the dots. And even the Wolverine character at times doesn't even match up to his other appearances. Not to mention, it's one of the weird trilogies that got the chance to even get better on every movie. And that goes without saying, the first one was not a very good film. See, my experience with this movie on this viewing was not outright awful. Maybe it's because I've watched this movie with super low expectations, and also maybe a bit of nostalgia plays a part in that for me, but I was not super disappointed. Was it a dumb, uninteresting plot for most of it? Yes, but it just managed to tell its story with a bit of intrigue for me, and that paired with its giant plot holes, and see, maybe its runtime too could have helped it be a bit bearable. But the film starts off so unhinged because I was like so confused. Was I watching the right movie? The way the movie just starts with Sabretooth and Wolverine in the past, because what's going on? And then we now go to Lagos. And I remember as a kid, I always loved that whole Ryan Reynolds scene with him sword fighting, deflecting all the bullets, all of that. But then we proceed with Ryan. I've never heard the language that Ryan is speaking right there. And I don't even get the point of killing and massacring the village. Okay, maybe you kill one guy to scare them so you can get the rock. But mass murdering them? I mean, that's a bit cruel. We then get a bunch of filler to set Logan on this John Wick style chase. But I want to know, at the end of the day, why were Wolverine and Sabretooth trying to kill each other? Like, the start, they claim they're brothers and everything, and then Wolverine leaves him behind pretty easily. Yes, Sabretooth is working for Stryker, but you'd still think that he'll have that brother loyalty to him, at least not want him to turn into a mindless weapon, especially since him himself, he wanted to get that Weapon X upgrade. And how dumb. I know they didn't expect Wolverine to overhear them or anything, but surely you would have a contingency for the man that cannot die and you want to upgrade his power set in case anything went wrong with the brainwashing thing. And as much as an avid defender I was for the CGI claws, yeah, they do not look good at all in this. And also the whole CGI that proceeded in that chase, it was like reminiscent of something I was seeing, like Who Killed Captain Alex. And finally, something dumb that happened at the end of this, when they cut off Ryan Reynolds' character's head, the lasers should have probably destroyed more than the platforms that they were on. And also, I'm pretty sure that Wolverine freed way more kids than the amount of kids that were rescued at the end. They die off camera or something. Then proceeding was the Wolverine in 2013, and this was a much better film, but I understand the mass appeal that this and the Wolverine brand had back then, but this movie should have gotten that R rating. I know there was like an extended scene with the snowplow or whatever that was, but we got these great uses of implied gore and brutality. But like Logan, just imagine how cool it would have been if you could have actually seen them. And unlike Logan, this was a more heavy action driven film, so it would have looked cool from start to finish. But compared to the Origins, this film had a more inline start point with him in the time when the nuke in Japan goes off. But how did Logan end up in Japan? No clue. And also his hair, how does that regenerate though? But we never really saw him undergo like an explosion in any of these type of films apart from maybe this one. And out of all the films, this felt the most in line with the actual X-Men continuity. It's supposed to take place after The Last Stand but before the Days of Future Past, hence why Jean is in the flashbacks. And I was quite surprised she was on here, because like when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's not Jean from The Last Stand. And makes me wonder, apart from that one scene in that X-Men film, I can't remember the X-Men film, but the one that Wolverine cameos in, did they ever give him back his memories? Because the Japan bits should have happened before he lost his memory in Origins. And one thing I would fault this film for was its quirky CGI, or maybe it was just the whole bullet train effect, just not good enough. And doing the whole outside bullet train thing, like the movie of the same name, it just did not look the best, especially in that movie too that came out like years after. And also I understand the contract or for sponsorships and everything, but for the product placement in this movie, it's so jarring, because a movie set in Japan, I'm expecting to see like Toyotas, Lexuses, all of that, but seeing German cars, I don't know, it just annoys me. Also the addition of Hiroyuki Sanada, I don't know, it felt like we're gonna shoot a movie in Japan, so let's add this big Japanese star to like push the promotion for the Japanese audience, because he really was not involved too much in the film. And I was even further disappointed when they just killed him off, but he gets his chance to redeem himself at the end. And it's quite funny how at the start, Yukio's character was like downplaying his skill, but then he just wipes the floor with her. And I cannot remember the X-Men movies, so I can't really talk about this, but this was probably one of my favorite versions of this Canadian hero. Having him depowered to this point where like he can be affected by pain, but his regeneration has always allowed him to get like used to the pain. So he was this killing force, but not quite as much as we've seen him in other movies, and he was also limited and toned down. It just felt like the perfect balance for me with his character, even compared to Logan. And finally, Logan. And this was only my second time ever watching this, so it does not have as much of a nostalgia boost compared to the first two. People say this is the best comic movie of all time. I might be overstating that quote, but this is not a bad movie by no means, but best comic book movie of all time is pretty crazy. I'm gonna come with an unpopular opinion right now. This is my third best X-Men film, apart from First Class and Days of Future Past. But that's my hot take. I don't know, maybe it's the whole doom and gloom of the entire film, as well as the lackluster antagonist. He was not bad or anything, but the use of the mature rating to portray a villain like this was really smart and intelligent. But as a movie based on the end of the road for Wolverine, the scenes with him just felt uninteresting for me. And if you wanted to, you could have told this entire film without him. I'm talking about the antagonist right now. It speaks to how every other part of this movie is just really, really good. And finally, we get dismemberment in these films. Just adds to this danger and prowess of this Wolverine character. And it also suits the film's gritty tone. And with that mature rating, we get a more realistic approach to see how Wolverine takes a beating, takes bullets, I don't know if he gets stabbed in this, and also a weaker Logan in this, especially for someone that has been alive for so long. It was pretty interesting to see how his mutation powers are finally starting to give in. And I have a question for this movie. Who killed that Mexican lady? Because it was never addressed, and if it was the people chasing, did X-23... I don't get it. Couldn't X-23 protect her? I mean, that entire part just didn't really make sense for me. And on the topic of X-23, Daphne Keane, I think she was 12 when she made this movie. She was just incredible in this, especially her stunt work, because there was this one in the introduction of her character. I hope it was real, because the way she just like, I think she kills a guy, then she like stabs on the hood of the limo, and then she now jumps in through the moonroof. That thing was so cool, and they did it in a way that like they paused it, sort of giving her like this superhero landing. Also, the Charles Xavier mental breakdown scene, the whole production and how they just managed to do that was insane. I was just sitting down there wondering, like, how did they do? Did they just tell people to like stand and like shake? It was just amazing, as well as its sound in that moment too. But I have one query about that entire scene. If Wolverine's able to destroy their brains, why don't they just fall down quickly? They're still slow, they're still frozen. And isn't their brain like that one link that makes them connected to Xavier? Bit of an inconsistency there. And finally, it was just the film's ending that always put me off. I don't know, the antagonist was one thing, but these kids just all popping up, it just took me away from the movie. And it sort of made me lose interest in the film at that point. But seeing Logan run in the woods for the 100th time is always a good sight. And you'd think the Wolverine in this universe, for as long as he lived, and also the amount of women he has been with, he would have already had a kid. And in fact, the whole Fox X-Men universe no one ever had a kid in those films apart from maybe Magneto in Apocalypse. But yeah, the Wolverine Trilogy, a trilogy that loosely connects, or maybe does not even connect with each film, and connects more with the different X-Men films. Very strange, but they have their ups and downs. Bit of a disclaimer, this video was like pre-recorded a long time ago, and it's supposed to get released when Deadpool and Wolverine comes out. So I'm excited to see how that will turn out. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll hopefully see you next time.